Welcome back to Kim Daily TV. My special guest for you today, he's not going to talk about franchising, but he is going to talk about an alternative investment to franchising. His name is Sam Sells. Sam, welcome to the studio of Kim Daily TV.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Kim. I've been wanting to be on this show for a very long time. It is,
I'm happy that you're here today. So happy. Sam has actually, I got to be a guest on his podcast. That's how we officially met. And he has thought about a franchise investment. So we've got to know each other a little bit there. But now it's his turn to be in my hot seat because he offers investors something different than I offer. So people who come to the idea of owning a franchise, you're going to quickly learn, if you don't know, there's a little time commitment required to run a business. But sometimes people are very full time in their career. They're making good money. They don't want to invest it in the stock market where they have no control. They want to invest it in alternative investments, but where they can be passive. And that's where this man comes in. So before he gets to talk a little bit, I want to introduce him as the person that I know. You guys are going to fall in love with him in the next 15 minutes, just like I have. So Sam is he's retired from the US Air Force where he was a combat veteran, and he founded a company called Wild Mountain Capital in 2018 with his dad, who he calls a hero. And I'm going to say that this man in the camera is the hero. Wait till you meet this guy. So he's traveled globally with US Air Force Special Operations as an international health specialist, and he got to see poverty and the lack of safe housing while leading complex rehab and development projects worldwide. And that's really where I think this dream for Wild Mountain Capital was born. And so, on that note, Sam, welcome to the conversation. And I want you to tell my followers more about this vision that you had for bringing Wild Mountain Capital to us and how other people can get involved with what you're doing.
yeah, thank you, Kim. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I know we have a lot of fun and we like to laugh a lot because when everything's going wrong in life, you just need to laugh and keep going, right?
No
And
matter what, you need to laugh.
no matter
I
what, you
got a
just got
tax
to keep
bill
going.
yesterday and I didn't laugh at first, but I had to laugh it off.
Yeah, what is this thing? And speaking of which, taxes, great segue right there because in my world, I've learned a lot of things, right? I've traveled all over this world and there's commonalities in every culture. I've been to the poorest countries on the planet. Chad, I've been to multiple times. That's not the name of a guy. It may be a name of a guy, but it's also a name of a country in sub-Saharan Africa, not the prettiest place, not a lot of tourism there. I've been to Afghanistan, all over Afghanistan, and plenty of other countries. But one thing that I found everywhere is that people are motivated when their incentives are aligned. And when their incentives are aligned, they're willing to go the distance, work harder, and progress. And so one of the big problems we have in America is we don't align incentives very well. And so you got this rigged government system that says if you don't want to pay taxes, you need to do what all of the politicians do, which is they have a bunch of real estate. And so this is why the Clintons have like, I don't know, 10 multi-million dollar homes and, all these, love them or hate them, whatever. This is what they do. And so if you invest in real estate, you can take massive losses, like, not fake losses, they're book losses, but you can live a life and pay zero taxes. That's what Trump has done successfully for a very long time. And he's abiding by the law, whether you like it or not. The system is certainly rigged. And so what we do is, I developed a strong passion to help the lower socioeconomic classes, the middle class in a system they don't understand that is completely configured not in their favor. But they can have access to that opportunity. And so if you're making a ton of money in franchising, because you can make a ton of money in franchising, you need to do something to place that money in a way that's going to be a great benefit tax wise for you. And if you go in the stock market if you've ever sold your stocks and made a profit, you're like, awesome. And then the government comes in and takes like 20 or 30%. And you're like,
Not awesome.
no, I'm just going to keep rolling it in and I'm never going to access my money. And you could do that. Or you can gain access to quarterly distributions, dividends, distributions, cash flow. And that cash flow pays your bills. And so we do that through commercial real estate. I knew nothing about that until about 6 years ago, and we got started, and it just blew my mind. And so now what we do is we work with investors who care about how their money is spent, how it is employed. They want to make a difference in the world. And then we go out and we find highly distressed or kind of distressed apartment complexes, biggest ones we can get, mobile home parks as well. We have a bunch of those, and we rehabilitate them. We come in and we clean them up, we change them, and it's palpable the difference. Crime drops to nil or next to nil. All of a sudden, kids can play in playgrounds. There's not fights out at the, you know, at the park or at the picnic tables in the park. It's like, we just change. It's governance, but there's a profit motive that keeps it sustainable and effective, because incentives are aligned. And so that's what I learned. And so that's what we employ in commercial real estate. It's fantastic.
It's so fantastic. You do good while doing well. I just love
Yeah.
it. So, brag on yourself a little bit. So you've been in this for about 6 years now. I mean, how many projects have you been involved in? Like, what kind of company have you built? Why should people say yes to Sam Sells
I,
besides the big heart of yours?
oh, I'm going to say you should do your due diligence first. Yeah.
No, you're gonna listen to this interview.
Yeah. Yeah, give me, reach out, get on my calendar. I'll answer any question. You want to ask me the worst dumb decision I've ever made? Yeah. And the second worst? Yep, I can tell you that one too, right? You just want to keep going? I can tell you all the dumb decisions I think I've ever made. All of those things have taught us a ton. I've read all the books, I've attended all the seminars. Um, Nothing competes with real life experience, in our ability to effectuate a plan, um, that is reliable, successful. So we know exactly how to do that. We've done 20 something syndications. That's a lot in the syndicator world. Um, we aren't empire builders, so I'm not out there trying to hit $1 billion. We're impact builders. We're out there trying to make an impact. And so if I can get other people to join in that and work with us, wonderful. Would love to have you on board. If you want to go and invest with somebody else who's doing the same thing, fantastic. Let me know who else is doing that, because it's hard to find real estate syndicators, people who put together private investor cash and go do stuff. We also have some institutions that work with us. They're multi-billion-dollar institutions. They have faith in us. In fact, the call right before this, I was talking to our institutional partner. We were laughing a lot about some of the other shenanigans that happen you know, with renters and so
The
forth, but
foibles.
foibles.
That's Sam's great word.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I loved about what you said to me earlier was that you personally want to meet every investor, which I love, right? That's like
Yeah.
what I do. I can't help somebody invest in a franchise if I don't get to know who they are and what their objectives are, what they're trying to create, with this investment. And so it sounds like you have a very similar sort of upfront process and then can guide them to various projects that you're involved in. But do you have a minimum level of investment that you want an investor to, if they're thinking about reaching out to you? Is there a minimum net worth requirement? Do they have to be accredited? And then the third question is there a minimum investment level to participate?
It depends on each deal. So we do some deals that are only available to accredited investors. The Security Exchange Commission, for good reason, kind of sets the bar of what they consider poor, to rich, and poor people can't invest the same way that rich people can unless they meet certain criteria. And so we can help you get through that. Criteria is really easy on your part. We just need to talk and go through kind of what your risk profile is, what what you can handle, because real estate, like any other investment, can go to zero. For operators like myself, it can go below zero. But for you as an investor, it won't go below zero. And you're a passive investor, so you bear uh, very little risk out in the deal. You don't have any responsibilities to contribute additional labor to the effort. Okay. Um, Now, to keep things simple, if you're accredited, so you're worth more than $1 million, or you make more than $200,000 a year, and have done, that means by the SEC rules that you're allowed to go out and lose all your money, and the SEC doesn't care. As long as there's no fraud, they just don't care, right? And it's interesting, what I've learned too is people will lose money in the stock market and be like, oh, I lost money in the stock market. But it's okay. We're all expecting to lose our money in the stock market. Why do we invest in something we all expect to lose our money? Right? I mean, how is this okay in America's society? But it just is. And people, if you invested $100,000 in real estate and you only got $95,000 back, you would be furious, right? And then you would invest it in the stock market and lose all of it. And you're like, oh man, I lost it all. It's just like the way people, like the way we think, because real estate is real assets and there's value there. So even the worst happens, there's still some value to the property. Whether or not you can collect that or not is besides the point. So I want to talk to everyone and make sure that they understand that. They understand the risk. They understand, they have some experience with the risk. If they haven't, then we want to teach and help them understand. And then, of course, if you don't care about impact, all you want is a gorgeous looking property that you can show your friends, and you want that 15% ROI, and you don't care about anything else. I'm the wrong guy. I'm the wrong guy, because when I send you an update saying that so and so did something at the property and we fixed it and we're moving on, you're gonna lose your mind, because this is this is the world I live in. We go in and we make heavy changes, but it starts out rough. It's just a rough property.
Right, right. But it's so necessary. And I think for the right investor, you are the right guy. So just on that last question, I know the answer may be it depends, but is there a minimum level of investment? Like I know I've gone in on some, of these passive investments at $50,000, but a lot of them are 100 or 150,000 minimal commitments. Do you have any minimal, just in case, to spare somebody from reaching out to you if they're not quite there?
Yeah. So some of our deals go down to $20,000 or $25,000 as a minimum investment.
Awesome.
Um, we don't do a lot of those because it just becomes a lot of
Crazy.
work,
Yeah.
right? So we'll have 50 people who all invested 20 grand. You're not
Right.
getting very far,
Right. Right.
right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I grew up in Oklahoma dirt poor, right? So I know that you have to start somewhere. And I've had an investment for $6,000. It was a gal that I knew. We spent a lot of time. She's a real estate agent. Spent a lot of time together. And she's like, Sam, this is what I have. I know I can lose it. I know real estate. Can you guys take that? And I said, okay. But, you know,
Yeah. But you know what? That's why I love having these additional conversations on my podcast, because not everybody who comes to me is quite ready for a franchise, but they are ready in their mind for something, and it's not the stock market, right? So having these resources like you, if this interview speaks to your heart and you want to be invested with somebody like Sam, it's not just about the ROI, it's also about doing good while you're making money, then you have an opportunity to reach out to him and to, figure out if there's a more passive way for you to invest your money right now, that as that returns back to you, then you may be able to come back to Kim and be ready for a bigger investment in a franchise. Because my investments in franchising, as people go through my process, we spend time up front talking about exactly what your money buys, because the number one reason you're going to come to me is to make money, but the number one reason you're not going to say yes to a franchise is because of money, fear of losing money, not making enough money. It's all about money. So the very first in-depth conversation we're going to have is about money. And I'm going to teach you what your money buys. And the long and short of it is, in the franchising world, the lower the investment of money, the bigger the investment of owner time commitment.
Mhm.
Those money and time are inversely related in business ownership. So that means that in a bigger investment of money, there can be a lower investment of time. So, for example, think like a laundromat, right? These are going to be $1 million build outs, but a very minimal time commitment once the business is up and operating, maybe 5-10 hours a week. 10 is a stretch, right? So that's kind of how that goes together. That doesn't always work for people. So here, Sam is giving us an opportunity to have an investment where you might have a smaller amount of money and also a small amount of time. And that's why I think this is an important conversation to have and to offer to people. So, how do people reach out to you, Sam, if they're interested to get to the next step with you?
Yeah, thank you. Reach out to us. You can send me an email, info@wildmountaincapital.com. That'll come right to me, or my assistant will harass me until I answer that email. Because occasionally, I get like 200 some emails a day. It just happens. Or, definitely go to our website, wildmountaincapital.com. You can find me on Instagram, Clean Money Sam, because to me, clean money is like clean food. You want to know what you're putting into your body. Clean money is investing in a way where you know what the money is going for. When you invest in the stocks, you have no idea. You just bought a stockbroker a brand new Ferrari. Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't follow you on Instagram, but I am going to Clean Money Sam after this interview.
Yeah,
Sam,
check
thank
it
you
out.
so much for being our guest today. Is there anything else that you want the viewers of Kim Daily TV to know about you before we wrap this up?
Look, Sam is a three-letter word, just like Kim, and so I'm super cool, like Kim is. But even more so, just like Kim said, I'm just a normal guy with all my own foibles. Uh, but we're
But he's
doing something.
superhuman. He has a superhuman heart.
Yeah. Why not make money doing something good? Why not? There's no
It's
reason we can't
awesome.
do that.
Exactly. There's no reason you can't do it. If this conversation has inspired you, please follow the email and get to Sam or go to wildmountaincapital.com. Also, check him out on Instagram. And until next time, don't forget that my name is Kim Daly and I want to be your daily coach.